baby. Nah, just push it down the river. Screw
Yeah.
it. Someone else
Yeah.
will deal with it.
Yep.
That's the worst part of the film.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, we'll just see what happens. It'll be fine.
And you can clearly tell that baby's like 3 months. Not even 3 months. It's not even a week probably. It's probably like 2 weeks old.
Yep. And he just wants to push it down a river.
Yeah. No, we'll get rid of it. Don't worry about it. Someone else find this baby.
They seem very secluded, though. So maybe they just, like, remember the Hobbits? They don't want trouble. So then he doesn't want, because remember, like, because they say this movie steals from Tolkien, but maybe he just doesn't want trouble. Like, even if there's a baby, people are going to come looking.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah.
And plus, he doesn't want to get thrown in the pit. What good is he to his family if he's in the pit? Where is this pit?
It's in the mines. It has to be near the mines.
A pit inside a mine? That's the most terrifying thing ever. It would be a rock pit.
Yeah. Keep digging rocks.
Wait, where's the pit? It's in the mine. Well, is the pit dug? No, you have to dig the pit.
Oh, no. The worst punishment. I have another point. I want to see what you think about this.
Yeah.
His name's Willow of Good.
Yeah.
And I laughed out loud when I heard that because I felt like George Lucas was like, this is a brilliant name. And I was like, I don't know. That seems a little on the nose for me.
Yeah, Willow. You know what? I never thought about that. And I never thought about the Vader thing until Pitch Perfect when Anna Kendrick wrecked it for me. When she said Vader means father.
Yeah. I'm like, no.
What? But yeah, you know what's? I never noticed that. I always just thought Willow of Good. Wow.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of saying Willow protagonist.
Willow protagonist.
And I was thinking about like, what's Bav Morta's last name? So like, it clearly has to be of bad.
Yeah, of
like,
bad.
There's no reason it's not that.
Bav Morta of bad. They're just evil.
Of evil? Bav Morta of evil?
Wait, Bav Morta DeVille.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It also made me think to be like, what if it was just like Bav Morta of ambivalent? Because there's like quote like of the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Yep.
So it's like Bav Morta of indifference.
She's just like she just doesn't care. Like of good. I never noticed that. That's like you and dropping your Latin thing from the 13 Ghosts. You're blowing my mind here.
Oh, I have another question.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
All right, this is jumping around.
Yeah, it's fine. Because whoever is listening to this has watched Willow.
Yeah. So I don't know the answer to this, and maybe we should look it up when we're right now. But she, at the end, Bav Morta is gonna disappear the child to the 13th dimension. But here's the thing: how does she know it's the 13th dimension? Right? Like to other people in other dimensions, it could be like the 4th dimension or 5th dimension because you always start with your dimension.
Yeah.
So she has no clue what's there. And I also want to know, and I don't actually know this answer, why 13? Why is 13 unlucky? Is it related to something to do with Christianity and like 13 apostles? I have no idea. But I always thought it'd be funny if someone was just like, and we're going to send to the 3rd dimension. Like, whatever. Like, it's just a different dimension.
It could be the Fire World.
Could be Fire World.
Wait, so she wants to send the baby to the 13th dimension?
Yes.
Okay. Why doesn't she just kill it?
I don't know. That's a great point. You could just kill it.
I guess baby killing in a movie. That's ritualized baby killing.
Especially in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah. So I guess if you send it to another dimension, you're not technically killing it, right?
Yeah, I guess so, depending on what that dimension is. But then it could be a really easy rewrite. Like, I want to use her as a battery to charge my own magic. You know, and like, there you go. We don't have to worry about like why you don't kill her then.
Well, she's the only thing that can defeat me, so I'm going to imprison her.
Yeah. So, and they're not very clear either if the baby is a sorceress or whatever. It's just like she can do it. You know, we have no idea.
I love this conversation though. Like, so I'm from the 1st dimension, and I'm in the 13th. Well, no, we're the 1st dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
So am I in the 3rd? I think you're in the 6th. So I got to get back home. How are we going to do this? No one wants to be. Everyone wants to be the 1st dimension. No, we're the 1st. No, wait, but we're the 1st.
Well, because I was thinking about it like you usually don't number. You wouldn't number dimensions. You would give them a name of a location.
Yeah.
And then you would just be like, I'm going to, I don't know, whatever. I'm trying to think of a Norse dimension, but I can't think of what's top of my head. But that you don't give them a number because like numbers start with you. Like they don't start with other people.
And Fringe, right? Remember Fringe? What was the name of their dimensions?
Oh, I only watched the first episode. I don't remember what happened there.
Oh, so you're on the fringes of that show.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh man,
yeah.
I love a good pun. I don't care.
I mean, the thing with Marvel does it with numbers, unfortunately, I guess. Or
Yeah.
like, or 616 and whatever.
Quantum Realm.
Quantum
Well,
Realm.
could like, all right, we'll save that for another how to name dimensions. I guess that's it. There's no answer to that.
No, it's always starts with what you have and then you name it.
I bet
You
that's
don't have to agree, like you have to have multiple dimensions together to agree on the names of that collective dimensions.
I bet when Sisyphus was pushing up the rock up the hill, he was thinking about the dimension quandary for probably 10,000 years.
When he had nothing else better to do.
Yeah, exactly.
He's probably still thinking about it.
No, but like, all right, so I guess you listened to the commentary on this as well, right?
Yes.
One of the most mind-blowing things about this movie was Warwick Davis was 17 years old.
Yeah, I can't believe that. When I used to watch this, I always was like, I wonder how old this guy is. But like, even as a kid, he was only a couple years older than me, like 4 or 5 years older.
Yep. So he's 17 years old and he's headlining a movie. And it was pretty interesting what he said because he was a goblin in Labyrinth. He was Wicket in Return of the Jedi, and I will defend the Ewoks till I die. And he had, so not only did he have to headline a movie, this was his first time where he didn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't really exaggerate when he had remember when he said he had his mask on, he had to like, be really physical to showcase his emotions. With this one, he had to headline a movie and have nuance and have his face on the camera. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And let me tell you now, nailed it.
Nailed it.
Absolutely.
I've watched this movie, because we've had this pod planned for a while, right?
Yeah, we've had it planned for a while. And what I did was I asked my Facebook group, like, hey,
oh yeah,
what should we watch? And I swear, like one person said Willow, and just everyone jumped on board. It was just like, Willow, yes, 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 yes. Willow, what about the baby? Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, people went crazy for Willow. But I just think it's, so, I'm 36, and I think people our age love this movie, right?
Yeah, I read a review of it, and I think it nailed it perfect. And it said that people who saw this when they were between 10 and 13, this was a defining moment in their cinema experience, and I completely agree. Like, we're here talking about it, and I'm extremely excited about it.
And when you're 10 to 13 years old and you watch this movie, so there is humor in this film. Ron Howard, the director, does add some humor. And the guy who wrote this is Bob Dolman, and he wrote for SCTV, the sketch show up in Canada for years. So he imbued that humor. But this movie, when you're watching it, so there are kids' movies, right, where they aren't that scary and you just kind of watch them and then you leave. But for me, there's movies like 101 Dalmatians with Cruella de Vil, Ernest Scared Stupid with Trantor the Troll, and then this movie that they're family friendly, but there's some scary stuff that when you see it between 10 or 13 or 9 and 11, you're going to remember because there's some violent stuff in these films. So it's family friendly, but it burns in your memory because it's also a little ahead of its age bracket. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of watching movies or of movies having a little bit of a horror element to it. I think you nailed it on the head because like you're going to remember it. And also I think that kids are smarter than we think they are. So I really appreciate this movie. Like even the Goonies or Monster Squad, they have horror and scary elements. And it's just part of a tapestry of emotions that's trying to get by. So it's like funny and adventurous. Like it wouldn't be that great to have an adventure story if there was no horror element to it or scary element to it, because then it's not really a story, I guess. It's just walking from one place to another.
Now, when you were a kid, so I remember I had Willow toys, little like die-cast metal ones, but I remember, so you know how many movies we've watched and forgotten, right? But a decade after Willow, I just had certain memories burnt into my memory. I know this is weird, but in the castle when Val Kilmer steps onto the goblin poop, there was a lot of it. But the people who were frozen in those rocks, right? Mm-hmm. They were frozen in those things. And then the dragon, and then the goblin getting shocked and then becoming a two-headed dragon, and the scratches on Fin Razel's face. There were moments, and I tell you what, that Kale is really awesome. What great costumes. But this movie, even when I was in my 20s, I just had memories burnt into me from this film. And there's so many movies you just forget after watching. So I guess I saw it at the perfect time.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of movies for me that are like that, but this is definitely up there in the top, probably top 3 or 4. It's like this and Jurassic Park are like movies that I cannot get out of my brain, no matter how many times or no matter how many new movies I watch. These are always there.
So I think Lucas and Spielberg are kind of masters of this, wouldn't you say? So, Jurassic Park, you have that. I love that. What is it? The Dilophosaurus that spits in Jurassic Park and then you never see it again. Like, what a crazy scene. I love that. And then the whole Sam Jackson with the arm. I know the sets got destroyed, so they couldn't show his death. But in Star Wars, you have the cantina, and then you have Jabba's palace. So I think they're the kind of kings of making. And then in this movie, people frozen in rocks, and the acorns, and the trolls, and like the backstory. And the brownies can ride eagles. So there's enough in this movie to just sort of build a bigger movie beyond that, if that makes sense. So as you're a kid, your imagination runs wild.
Yeah. I didn't have any of the toys, but Val Kilmer playing with or sword fighting inspired me to practice sword fighting at home. Like I had an orange sword that I would like swing around. It was this movie and then He-Man, the one with Dolph Lundgren.
That's awesome.
And I would just like talk my neighbors into sword fighting all the time.
The only time my buddies, the only time we ever acted on something was Cool Runnings. And my buddy had this like wagon that was low to the ground. And we wanted to build like our own bobsled, but we lived in Florida and we had one hill in our neighborhood and we wanted to use that as like a makeshift wheeled bobsled. So that's like the only time I remember acting on like, not, like sword fighting and stuff, but we wanted to bobsled because of Cool Runnings. It's pretty interesting. I don't know why I told you that story, but it's pretty cool. But all right, so man, there's so much to talk about in this movie. Did you have any more questions you want to get?
I do.
All right.
Why do you think Mad Mardigan was in that crow's cage?
He's just a lech. He's lecherous. He was probably in an army, or he was in a mercenary crew, and he obviously probably slept with one of the guy's wives or girlfriends, and he got caught, and they threw him in there.
Yeah. And they don't explain it, but Eric calls him a thief later in the film. And I was like, is he a thief? Is that how he ended up in there? But that doesn't feel like him. You're right. I think he feels like more like he hooked up with someone.
He steals hearts.
Well, he stole my heart in this film, let's be honest.
Yeah, all right, so, I don't see him thieving, do you? He's not a thief.
No, I don't see him thieving either.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with him, though. He's objectively bad at a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like he loses the baby immediately.
We see him. He's in the crow's cage. He loses the baby. He gets captured by Sorsha. Did he get captured after that again?
Yeah, and we never see him get captured, and he just shows up shirtless, captured.
Yeah.
And then they go, we didn't need him to find Willow. And they're like, what?
Okay.
But then I think he's bad at everything but sword fighting. He's a guy who just needs, because once he gets the bows and arrows and once he gets his awesome gear on, he just destroys people. But then every other facet of his life he's bad at.
Yeah. And here's one of the things I love about that scene when he finally gets his armor and you're like, oh, so he's in Tears Lee is what the scene I'm talking about. Sorsa just watches that and she's just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hooking up with this dude. Like, you see how good he is? He's killing my whole army.
I wrote a note, and I think I threw it up I in caps on the top so I didn't forget it. She falls in love while watching him fight. She just stops.
Yeah.
And but he's destroying folks.
Yeah. My note for Sorsha is Sorsha equals babe to the 10th power.
Yeah. And you know that the two of them, Val Kilmer and let's see, I got her name here, Joanne Whaley, they got together.
They got married.
Yeah.
I think they had 2 kids.
And they came back for reshoots to make that one scene where he's like, you're my night and day. They redid that scene because they had that chemistry then.
Yeah, and you can tell too when you're watching it. Like you can tell that they are into each other.
It's weird. It's weird for me watching Val Kilmer in the 80s because he started off with Top Secret, which I love, Real Genius, and then he had Willow and Top Gun. And maybe he was just a pain. Like, so I heard on Batman Forever, he was kind of a pain on set. Maybe he was a pain deal with